Start the fucking video. Okay, we are back with another video. This video is gonna be very rage fueled. I'm gonna do a lot of ranting and, getting upset and, just being pissed off. Because, how do I put this shit? Next to nerds like the quartering or nerdrotic that tries to use nerd culture to vector people into like white supremacy and fascist beliefs, I cannot fucking stand black conservatives because they have no values and honest to goodness do not give a fuck about black people or just values of being a good and honest person. Pain at the way that it muddies the water, the way that it pretends like one thing is another, the way that it downplays the Republican Party's connections to far right extremist groups, especially the Ku Klux Klan, it's really fucked up. And it's not because he has different political opinions. It's because he's wrong and he's muddying the waters to have more useful idiots for the Republicans to take over this country and make it some type of weird theocratic white supremacist. I really don't even feel like I'm being hyperbolic. And it's like the thing about black Republicans and the Republican Party, they don't and have never gave a fuck about black people. These people do not give a fuck about black people. If they cared about black people so much, why every time a black person is murdered by the police, and we can say murdered with that M, not even just killed, they're always jumping to, oh, that person was a criminal, that person did this person did that. Why the fuck are they in favor of lower wages that don't only hurt they fucking working class white voters, but it also hurts black people more because more likely black people are below white people socioeconomically? Why are these people always trying to take away social safety nets? Why are these people in favor of the constant rage and drug war and not decriminalizing any, drugs and shit like that? Why the fuck the only thing these people got to say for themselves when it comes to solutions for racism is just that, oh, black people need to work harder? It's like I said in the video before this, in the video about that one bitch, it doesn't matter how hard you work. If you're a colored person in the Western Hemisphere and even in other places, you're gonna have to deal with racism one way or fucking another. And it's fucking ridiculous that the Republican, I'm not even saying the Democrats are perfect. Like, yeah, sometimes they're lazy and ineffective. Well, most of the time they are. But at least they don't make shit worse. At least they don't go on stages talking about how immigrants are stealing people's jobs, or when people are protesting for their rights, they call them criminals, rioters, and looters and shit. And vote against anything that could possibly help working class Americans. So like this, it just doesn't sit right to me. And speaking of which, we can talk about how the Republicans are the real racists. Like, first of all, we can go talk about the electoral history of the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, David Duke. Oh yeah, also a neo-Nazi. Founded the Klan back in the day and pretend like the Southern strategy in over like 150 years of history didn't happen, where the Republicans swung right and the Democrats swung at least to the center to central left and shit like that. You would see throughout David Duke's electoral history, for some odd reason, yeah. In 1970s, he was running as a Democrat. But for some odd reason, David Duke in 1990, coming towards more contemporary politics, is all of a sudden run. Why is a neo-Nazi, Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and an anti-Semite running as a Republican all of a sudden if the Democrats are the real racists? And I thought that I would have more to say, but it's nothing to say. David Duke, he ran in in electoral parties as a Republican for the most part. He rarely ever ran as a Democrat. So like, it's really weird to me the way that they try to downplay. He ran. Wait a minute, you fucking with me? He ran in 2016 in a fucking jungle primary in Louisiana. Wow. As a Republican, and that's really recent. That's like, what, 6 years ago? So like, again, if the Democrats are the real racists, Why is a Nazi running as a Republican? As most neo-Nazis, when they campaign, they run as Republicans, not even just David Duke. Or we can talk about my best friend Lee Atwater here. See, this is the video you send to anybody regardless of what race they are, and they bring you some bullshit like, Candace Owens or Thomas Sowell or, Brandon Tatum talking about how the Democrats founded the Klan and how the Republicans aren't racist, and how Candace Owens took her weak ass up on in front of Congress and said that the Southern Strategy never happened, when I'm sure like the documenting the Southern Strategy and how it happened slowly over time are like right down the fucking hallway from her. To lie and pretend away white supremacy, I say show them this clip. In this clip, obviously, hold up, you're gonna see what the Republican Party's strategy is. The Republican Party, of course, isn't going to directly be racist. Like, that shit is not gonna happen. They're not just gonna go up there saying the N-word and saying how, they hate other races of people. They have to use softer, more palatable language, because open bigotry against minority people, whether it's black people or, gay people and stuff like that, is not really welcome. And yes, there's black conservative politicians and Latino conservative politicians. There's even a few gay conservative pundits. I don't know of any like actual politicians that are, gay conservatives or whatever. But these people function as useful idiots to muddy the waters for the Republican Party, who would see these people thrown in prison or executed if they had their way in this country. And a lot of these black conservatives and, gay conservatives or whatever you have, even some female conservatives and all the way up to the fascists, they don't do it because they actually have any values. A lot of these people do it because either A, they have slightly more opportunity in life, or B, they make money off of lying and regurgitating white supremacist nonsense against their own people. And YouTube, I know that Lee Atwater is going to say the hard R, but this is a historical documented video, and I'm trying to prove a point here. I'm not being racist or promoting people saying the N-word with the hard R. I'm playing a quote so people cannot keep lying and saying the Republicans are not racist.
Statistician or political science, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all are quoting.
Goes on to get quoted.
You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts your backfire. So you say stuff like, well, forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and a byproduct of them. Subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger.
Not really looking good for the Republican Party that both they pundits and politicians continue to use this language where they talk about law and order or welfare queens or thugs or caravans of immigrants or illegals and shit like that, or calling gay people pedophiles and what have you. And they use this shit to distract people from their economic situation. But yeah, the Republican Party purposely uses racism and other forms of bigotry like homophobia and sexism to gain votes. It's like really undeniable. You heard what the man said. He was a strategist for both, I believe, maybe Nixon, but I know he was for Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush Sr. And you can see throughout the history of the Republican Party, especially, these days contemporarily, nobody, including Trump, at least, is going to come out and just say they hate this group or that group, but they're going to imply it through the way that they speak about their issues with them, or problems surrounding them, or economic policies surrounding them. So all this bullshit about the Democrats being real racist because over 150 years ago they may have founded a Klan, that doesn't mean that politics stayed the same. Politics shifted and changed over time to the point where the Democrats began to lean center left and Republicans lean right to far right. And I don't really know what else to say after this clip. Like, this proves that's what the Republican Party's strategy is. And all their pundits do this shit, from Tucker Carlson to Ben Shapiro to Matt Walsh to Steven Crowder, and the politicians like, Marjorie Taylor Greene these days, or Laura Boebert, or Trump himself, or Reagan, Nixon, fucking George W. Bush, both of them and stuff like that. These people use, especially race, and I guess you can say sexual and gender equality as wedges against for the working class people to gain votes for them. So, and then it's like, we're not going to even get into like the more socialist philosophy about how this cultural nonsense distracts people from actually building a multiracial working class movement to make the government the way that we want it to be. But it also promotes bigotry, hostility, because of the messages that the Republican Party and pundits promote. People join the Klan, people join the Proud Boys, people join the 3%ers and what have you, is because they're constantly being told by Republican politician and media personalities that this group or that group is going to destroy your city, so you buy a M16 to do this, that, or the other. So I guess we'll watch this stupid campaign ad now, and I'll try to, it's only 31 seconds. I try to react to it, but I really don't have much to say except the Republicans are the real racists, that the Ku Klux Klan is more associated contemporarily with the Republican Party. I guess it'd be kind of funny.
Democrats like to say that no one needs an AR-15 for self-defense.
I mean, I'm not trying to be that person, because I do believe that people should be able to legally own a rifle, but I feel like it's certain people that shouldn't. People that are connected to terrorist organizations like the Ku Klux Klan or neo-Nazi cells, or people with histories of mental illnesses, should not be able to own such firearms.
That no one could possibly need all 30 rounds. But when this rifle is the only thing standing between your family and a... You just might need
because the Ku Klux Klan is gonna come up to your house without guns.
That semi-automatic and all 30 rounds.
Oh, go fuck yourself, man. Like I said, this like muddying of the waters and pretending like the Ku Klux Klan is not more connected to the Republican Party is fucking ridiculous. We can see the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan most often of the time runs Republican. Jerome, you dipshit. So what is the point? And it's like, I guess I can kind of get into rant angry mode for the last few minutes of this video, but I guess nah, because like I said, I said what I had to say. Like, this dude is a dipshit helping forward white supremacy by muddying the waters and pretending away the fact that the Republican Party is more associated with the Ku Klux Klan, pretending away 150 years of history, pretending like the Republicans give a fuck about black people. Since when did the Republicans ever do anything to help black people? I argued with some black Hebrew Israelite dipshits. The only thing they had was Trump gave some $2,000 checks. Who gives a fuck about them checks? What is the Republican Party doing about policing? How is the Republican Party securing better wages and social safety nets? Is the Republican Party supporting my union? I didn't fucking think so. The Republican Party is full of opportunist, narcissist pieces of shit like Ted Cruz, neoconservative dog shit idiots like Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney, or just neo-Nazis like Marjorie Taylor Greene, or pedophiles like Matt Gaetz. And this muddying of the waters for any smart individual, maybe it's no reason for me to make this video, because any fucking smart person that's been alive for more than 30 fucking seconds knows about the racist shit that the Republican Party is constantly to fuck up to. So I don't get this guy's point. Maybe it'll fool somebody, but it's just the sole fact of. And we could talk about shit like Charlottesville, and this would be my last point. What party was downplaying Charlottesville like it didn't happen? What dipshit got his ass up there and was like, oh, there were very fine people on both sides, equivocating Americans standing up to Nazis? So don't give me this shit, man. Like, for real. And it's really fucking crazy. Because the Republicans are constantly, especially if we're talking African Americans, we can forget about, not forget about them in that way, but no, we can bring it all in. Fuck it. They're constantly being bigoted to non-white males. Constantly trying to cartel people's rights. Constantly trying to keep people working as hard as possible and making as little as possible. And you got the nerve to make this dipshit campaign ad, muddying the waters even further for these opportunist pieces of shit. And that's all I got to say. That was one of the fucking dumbest campaign ads I've ever seen in my life.